for coming to this evening's event to hear all of our stories. Um, I would like to share my story about being a foster parent. 10 years ago, I was working in the child welfare system, and one of the most heartbreaking parts of working in that system for me would be we were often involved in removing children from their homes and placing them in foster homes that sometimes ended up being more abusive than the homes they originally came from. And so, having grown up on this island in foster care myself and having the perspective of working in the system for a little bit, I said, why not? I'll give it a shot. How hard can it be? So, one of the groups I saw that had the most concerns were teens. It's very common to see teens bouncing from home to home to home or program to program, from shelter to shelter. So I said, okay, I'll become a foster parent and for teens in foster care. Some of the initial values and thoughts that I started off with was one, all they need is a loving home. Two, they come from bad situations and we gotta protect it from that. We have to protect them from that. And three, it'll require some sacrifice, but it'll be overall a fulfilling experience. So I started. The first couple of years were really, really rough and didn't go well, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to go back to the drawing board and re-examine my values. Because one of the things I did stick to from the beginning till now is that no matter what, we don't kick a kid out of the house. We figure it out somehow. And so what I was doing wasn't working, so I had to go relook at the drawing board. So the first value I mentioned earlier was all these kids need is love and a safe home. While that's true, they need a lot more than that. They need people to understand where they're coming from and help them to understand how to process all of these big emotions that they've been saddled with through the different things that they've gone through. It's not uncommon, during the emotional times, they might come to me and say, what's wrong with me? Why would my mom choose drugs and an abusive boyfriend more than me? Why would my dad choose suicide over me? And no matter how much love you have, you need some knowledge and some experience to be able to help them through that process, to recognize their experience. Because if we just say no, 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 that's not true. That is the reality of the situation. That is what they're facing. So how do we appreciate their experience and then also help them process and move through it? So now if a teen comes to me and says that, I can say, I would reflect something more like this. I would say, yes, that is your experience, but what's more important is do you know, and I need you to know this, that from the core of your core, that you are worthy of having those parents that you deserve. Whether you experience something else, that happens. But you need to know that you are worthy of having those parents. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not the problem. This isn't a you thing. You are worthy of having that mom, of having that dad, of stability, of presence in your life. You just happen to experience something else. And then we can process through there and kind of work through some of these bigger emotions that they have. The second one that I mentioned earlier was they come from bad situations and we gotta kind of protect them from that. Through all the years, I haven't met a bad parent or a bad family yet. That's not the case. It's not black and white, good and bad. What I learned was, as system, as a foster parent, that we have to engage the family to the highest extent possible. So yes, they're at a place right now where they can't be the 24/7 parent for their teen, for their kid. But what can they do? Can they help with homework? Can they show up to the sporting events? Can they come to doctor's appointments? Can they be a weekend parent? Can they come to birthdays, Christmas, and other celebrations? And so my mindset shifted from keep them away from the bad to how do we make them the best we can be? Because if we start labeling the mom, the dad, the family as bad, the kid hears that and they put that label on themselves. And then they see themselves as bad. And how can we expect them to do good when we put that label on them? So our job is to keep the family looking as good and as positive and and have them engaged in that family to the highest extent possible for wherever they're at in that situation. And it doesn't always work, but you just keep trying, keep trying. The third one that I really had to shift was, it may require some sacrifice, but it'll overall be a fulfilling experience. I went into this thinking, I'll get something out of it. But for me to have my fulfillment depend on the child makes me no different from somebody who abuses that child. My personal fulfillment should not depend on that child. That child's job is not to make me feel good and make me feel happy. I'm there to meet their needs, not the other way around. And what I learned to become attached to is my responsibility to that child. And whether it benefits them or doesn't benefit them, doesn't matter. What matters is, because as you go through the teen years, there's periods of time where things are just bad all the time, forever. And if you're depending on being fulfilled by that, it's not gonna happen. So, you have to adjust if you wanna survive, keep your sanity. So, I attach myself to the role. Am I learning as many skills as I can? Am I doing the best job that I can? Am I keeping that family engaged to the highest extent that I can? And as long as I'm doing my part, then kind of overlook the ups and the downs and just try to get through it. So those are the main lessons that I learned. After 10 years, there's been many teens. No one's ever gotten kicked out. If anyone ever left, they either aged out and moved on their own. Some of them still live at home. Some of them returned to mom, dad, or auntie, uncle, grandparent, and some of them started their own lives. I'd like to wrap this up by sharing a quick story of one youth that I'm particularly proud of. He initially entered foster care at 3 years old. The mom left him and his twin sibling unattended in a catchment tank, and the twin capsized, and he had to watch his brother drown in front of him, not being able to do anything. So it opens up the child welfare case. Fast forward, that was from 3, so fast forward 12 years, there was over 20 different homes that he went in and out of, and he was a high needs kid, so that after a certain point, they return him. They tell the state, come pick him up, we're done. And then go through several programs, and then boom, 15, he's at my place. So 15 to 18 is my portion, and it was horrible and hard and difficult. We just survived, and we did it. And he ended up graduating high school. After that, he enrolled in college. After that, he graduated college. And then after that, he went on to get his full-time job. He ended up purchasing his home in HPP at 21 years old. And then my favorite part, he went on to become a licensed foster parent and became the foster parent for his younger siblings. And so to the 20 homes that keep them out, they said he wasn't worth the heartache and the headaches. I would say that not only he, but all the kids in foster care are worth that. Thank you guys.